I'm Jan Storland, and this is the Spurs Insider, our weekly NBA podcast from ExpressNews.com. Joined now by San Antonio Express News sports writer Jeff McDonald. He's contacted me from the road. We got a lot to talk about, Jeff. We have injuries, even a new injury to talk about. But I guess first, let me know a little bit about the trip that you're on. You've been outside of San Antonio this week.
Yeah, the Spurs had one preseason trip, went to Atlanta and now in Orlando, and I've been following them around, just kind of reporting on the comings and goings of their preseason, and it's mostly been goings, as you kind of alluded to, with just injury after injury after injury hitting them. But we missed the hurricane, so that was good. Hurricane Michael, it's sort of we got a little bit of nasty rain in Atlanta, but not too bad. We were all talking about in the locker room after that game in Atlanta on Wednesday. It looked like the storm was going to turn and then basically be blocking our path on Thursday to fly from Atlanta to Orlando. And we were all just saying, can we just go back home, San Antonio, call it a trip? But alas, Hurricane Michael cleared out and we arrived in Mickey Mouse country, safe and sound, and pretty nice weather here for the Spurs preseason finale. But like I said, it's almost like the dark clouds metaphorically followed the Spurs around on this trip.
Yeah, because oddly enough, all this hurricane talk, that might be the good part of the situation. In the last week, the Spurs have had the injuries. Lonnie Walker, DeJounte Murray, that was in about 48 hours. There's even another injury to talk about. Let's get to that first.
Yeah, they lost Lonnie Walker. They lost DeJounte Murray, who was their starting point guard. The guy they replaced DeJounte Murray with as the new starting point guard was Derek White. He started one game in Atlanta on Wednesday and apparently tore a ligament in his left heel and is out for 6 to 8 weeks. And this is really kind of fresh breaking news. I just got back from shoot around here in Orlando where Greg Popovich told me that. I asked how Derek's doing, and he said it's not. We all thought it was just like a precautionary thing to send him back to San Antonio because it's a preseason game, doesn't count. His heel's bothering him. Let him rest up for a week until the regular season starts. So that's what they were expecting when I asked Popovich how Derek was doing, and he said, well, actually, he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks because he tore something in his heel. I think I was stunned, and I know from talking to the players who had learned the news about an hour before I did, they were all stunned when they heard it too. So the Spurs, I think if I have this right, they are needing to fill the shoes of the guy who was filling the shoes of the guy who was filling the shoes of Tony Parker. I think that's where we stand now with the Spurs point guard situation. And it is a mess, and it's going to be problematic for them when the season starts because they just don't have any point guards on the roster. Like the guys they were expecting to be a big part of their bench are having to step up and play out his position. And it's if they don't go and sign somebody, add just some warm bodies, it's going to be tough for them to make it through these first couple months of the season without with their guard depth just sat.
Well, good night, everybody. I don't know if we want to go on here, but we're going to have to. We got several minutes left on this episode.
It's crazy because this all happened in the span of a week. It was in the last three preseason games, one by one, they have lost each of their last three first-round draft picks. So Lonnie Walker was their 2018 first-round draft pick. He's gone. One game later, DeJounte Murray is their 2016 first-round draft pick. He's gone. One game later, Derek White is their 2017 first-round draft pick, and now he's gone. They have their talent base has just been sort of – the guys they were counting on to be a key part of this rebuild that they're having to go through, they're just not there. It's all their young guys, quick guys, athletic guys, like things they were trying. They were really hoping to be a more athletic team this year, and I just don't see how they can do that until they start getting some of these guys back. And it sounds like we're talking, 6 to 8 weeks down the road before that can happen.
Well, unlike ripping off a Band-Aid just real quickly to get it over with, let's do a slow burn on all this. Let's go through each player because, they're not all the same, these injuries, and how long they're going to be gone, certainly not the same either. It goes from to worse, as we're all going to get to here. Let's start with Lonnie Walker. What's the situation with Lonnie?
All right. He tore a meniscus in his right knee and had to have surgery to fix that. And the recovery time, as I mentioned, 6 to 8 weeks thereabout. And I think what makes it even a little more concerning is it is an identical injury he had the previous summer. He played 1 year of college ball at Miami before that summer, so between his senior year of high school and the start of his college career in a workout, he tore his meniscus in the right knee, and they repaired it. He was able to be on the floor for the entire Miami season, had a great season, good enough to be drafted 18th overall from the Spurs. So there's a track record of recovery there, but also you just worry that he's now suffered the exact same injury in the exact same part of the exact same knee, basically in the span of 14 months. So that's kind of the concern with him. We want to keep going down the list of, I was going to say walking wounded, but some of these guys aren't even walking.
Well, I got a question about Lonnie Walker. So you answered it a little bit. I was wondering, is this like breaking your leg twice, but in different parts? But no, this is the same exact injury, not so long after it happened the first time around. Is that normal if you get it once, or just any type of injury like this in this area? Is this something that could happen from time to time, or is this bad luck? Is this not something that he thought he might ever have to deal with in his career for a second time?
Yeah, I think if you get it taken care of surgically. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I know sometimes when the doctors can go in there and use the wonders of modern medicine, that you can actually, the knee or the whatever will be stronger than it was when it was just, Mother Nature doing the job. So it is a little strange. I would just hope it doesn't point to this is something he's going to have to worry about his entire career. If it's now happened twice in 14 months, you just worry if it's just a chronic's not the word, but just it could reoccur. I mean, you wonder if the chances of reoccurrence are even higher now that it's going to be repaired twice. But I mean, right now everybody's just trying to be optimistic and hope his recovery goes well, and hope you can see him on the floor sometime sooner rather than later, because he was a guy a lot of people were really eager. An exciting young player that a lot of people were really eager to see. And he was just starting his Spurs career. We hadn't seen a whole lot of him in a Spurs uniform. He actually, before he even injured his knee, he had missed the Spurs' first preseason game just because he had a little, like a groin pull that he suffered in camp. So he really only played the day he got hurt. The game he got hurt in was his Spurs preseason debut. He got in the fourth quarter. He played 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and then he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So we've seen him play on the floor basically for 5 minutes in a Spurs uniform. And I think that's kind of disappointing just from, you heard so much about him and what an exciting player he was. You would have liked to have been able to witness that a little bit more to this point.
So that's actually not the worst case scenario. Let's move along to that. Let's talk about DeJounte Murray.
Okay, so the next game, like 48 hours after, literally Walker. Oh yeah, okay. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But literally 48 hours after Walker is injured, DeJounte Murray goes down in the Spurs' next game against Houston. Just driving to the basket, knee buckles. They take him to get an MRI. MRI comes out. He has torn his ACL in his right knee, and that is usually a season-ending injury. I mean, he's going to be out a long time. And, even then it just seemed like what horrible luck to have just these two injuries happen like back-to-back. And illustrative of that, it was sort of like the Spurs team doctor, David Schmidt. He's on Monday. He's doing surgery on Lonnie Walker's right knee. He's doing surgery on Lonnie Walker's right knee. And then when he's done with that, he gets to look at the MRI results that DeJounte Murray took a few hours earlier and find out what to do with DeJounte Murray's right knee. So, you've got basically at the moment, one guy is undergoing surgery, the other guy is in an MRI machine, getting examined. And that was sort of illustrative to me of, wow, the injury bug that just hit the Spurs so hard in the span of 48 hours. But the bug was not done biting, we just found out.
Yeah, the doctor's probably like, wow, I can handle 2, but thank the Lord it's not 3. Oh, no. Oh, no. But so before we move on to Derek White, DeJounte Murray, you said likely that's for the entire season. Is that all we know so far?
Yeah, they're not expecting him back. I mean, people sort of heal at different rates. If you look at like some football injuries, like Adrian Peterson from the Minnesota Vikings a few years back tore an ACL, and he was back in 6 months. 6 months, but everybody thought that was fast, and that was almost the best case scenario. And if DeJounte is even out 6 months, you're still talking about a huge chunk of the season, to the point where you wonder what the purpose would be of even bringing him back. And like I said, people heal at different rates, and we haven't. DeJounte Murray's not really had a severe injury like this, so I don't really have the track record to know if he's a fast healer or slow healer, how his body responds. I know when it was Tony Parker, he was around for so long, and when you're around for 17 years, you have all kinds of injuries, both severe and not as severe. And it seemed like Tony Parker was always beating the timetable. Like even when Parker blew his knee, there was a tendon in his knee that he blew in the playoffs in 2017, and he came back faster than anyone thought he would come back. But that was Tony Parker. His body, it was like bionic. And I don't know what DeJounte Murray's healing powers are. I guess we're going to find out. But I know that I think at this point, there's little sense in rushing him back. I think it's hard to say how the season is going to go, but the way it's starting, it's looking like you're not going to be in contention to win a championship, so you don't want to jeopardize people's long-term futures by making them come back faster than they probably need to. So I think they'll take it slow with DeJounte, because that is a pretty serious injury, and not pretty serious for a basketball player. It's one of the most devastating injuries you can have, because you sort of need your knee to play basketball. So, we'll just have to wait and see how that goes with that young kid. He's 22. Maybe you could say, his young body will heal faster than a 42-year-old's would. So maybe that's the one ray of sunshine there.
Yeah, good thing Manu Ginobili got out while the getting was good, right? Wow. You'd hate to have something like this happen with someone who's higher up on the age spectrum like that. And not to make light of any of this, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I myself had knee surgery when I was much younger, and I was told because of my age I could expect this type of recovery based on my age. So that's definitely one of the factors in there. And gosh dang it, we're not done. Let's talk about Derek White.
Okay, so one game later, after all this happens, the Spurs go on the road. It's almost like we can sort of go on the road, clear our minds. We know who's not going to be with us now. We have a plan in place for how we're going to deal with this. We're going to, they were really expecting Derek White to have a really great season this year. He was kind of one of the guys we've always talked about as being sort of a breakout candidate. So they thought, okay, well, he's just going to have to be even better than we thought he was faster. Instead of being this key member of our bench, we're going to put him in the starting lineup. Derek White, 2017 first-round draft pick out of Colorado, and he gets his first start. It goes pretty well. I mean, the Spurs lost, but he performed well. He packed the box score, had steals, blocks, rebounds, assists, points. Like he wasn't a star, but he was doing something in almost every category, and they were really optimistic about where he was going to go. He didn't limp off the floor. He didn't there wasn't like an obvious moment where he injured himself. But he apparently said he started complaining of some pain in his right heel after the game. And so they sent him to San Antonio to be examined. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think all of us were kind of thinking, well, this is precautionary. You've got one preseason game left. You've already seen what's happened to two other guards. You don't want to take any chances with the guy that you're supposed to be relying on now. You're not going to play him in that last preseason game. If he sits, he has a week to let whatever's going on in his heel kind of calm down. But no, apparently he's torn a ligament in his heel, and it's not going to calm down in a week. It's going to calm down in about 6 to 8 weeks. So that's where we stand with him. He's out as well, and the Spurs are going to have to, for the third straight game tonight as they close their preseason, are going to have to find a new starting point guard. So that's where we stand. And it's if you're a Spurs fan, I think it's pretty depressing. I mean, it's been a pretty depressing preseason and off season, and just these are not fun times to be a Spurs fan right now, I don't think.
What is the lineup going to look like now? Do you have any idea what this is going to look like, either like you said tonight, but versus a few weeks from now? Or do you might think there would be some switches and just see what works?
The guy they're going to move into Derek White's place now is Bryn Forbes, who's been around for 2 years before. He's not really a point guard. He's, gamely tried to add that part to his game. He's more of a shooting guard. He's tried to add that dimension to his game over the past few years, but he's the next guy in line, and it's like you almost like feel bad for him. Like, watch out! Everybody else who has had this job is now injured and out. So it's like apparently being a Spurs point guard has become the new most dangerous job in America. So you feel bad for Bryn because it's like you're in the line of fire now, buddy. But it's not optimal. It's not optimal. No one wanted. Not that he's a bad player. Not that. It's just not his role. Nobody wanted Bryn Forbes to be the starting point guard going to the season, and no one really dreamed that would even be on the radar. You wanted him coming off the bench, firing away like he has done in the past 2 years. He's a great shooter, great outside shooter, but it's not his natural position, point guard. He's going to have to just kind of wing it, and the Spurs don't have a natural point guard on the roster. It will be Bryn Forbes and Patty Mills probably splitting that position, and neither one of them are best. That's not where they are best used if you had your druthers. So I haven't the Derek White injury is so new that I haven't even been able to do much reporting on this yet, but you wonder if they're going to have to start looking around who's available, what free agents are available, any kind of veteran body that they might be able to sign to a minimum deal, just kind of a short-term, kind of plug the hole kind of guy, just to give them some depth and some bodies there, and to maybe allow them to play guys like Patty Mills and Bryn Forbes at the position you'd most like them to play, which is off the ball, not on the ball. So that will be something to sort of watch in the days to come. Do the Spurs go looking around for any kind of veteran help at that position? Anybody with a pulse and two working legs to just eat some minutes and not just wear out the two non-point guards you're kind of having to force into the role. So that's something to keep an eye on as the days and weeks go along.
There was a time here on the podcast when the discussion of Vegas odds was something that came up, and I think everybody that had a voice in that discussion through several different episodes thought those odds were a little bit off. What do you think of those odds now?
I think the over under that we talked about was 43, and I would feel really nervous if I had bet on the over right now. That's looking pretty optimistic. I think the glass half. I mean, if you're the glass half full type, I would say if the Spurs can just make it through the first 2 months of the season, just weather the storm, maybe they can start to get some bodies back and start to make a run. If there's any bright side, their three best players are still their three best players in LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, and Rudy Gay. I mean, those are the three guys I think you were going to count on no matter who the point guard is. And knock on wood, as I'm doing right here in my hotel room in Orlando, if those guys stay healthy, I think you have a similar team than the one we were a little more optimistic about than Vegas was. But you just can't lose 3 first-round draft picks off a team that was already sort of on the fringe and expected not to hurt. So, I think what you're going to see really is it may not affect, even though you have your 3 best players still intact, it's really going to sap your depth. That was the depth and versatility of this Spurs roster was going to be one of its hidden strengths. And for the first 2 months of the season, that depth is gone because those 3 guys are not available.
And a thank you to San Antonio Express News sports writer Jeff McDonald for joining me from the road and breaking down this unfortunate news for today's episode of the Spurs Insider, our weekly NBA podcast from expressnews.com. For the San Antonio Express News, I'm Chance Dorland.